fractions into decimals. Should be fairly simple and straightforward if you pay attention. So, and then we're going to use these decimals to put things in order. So to write a fraction as a decimal, we're going to divide the numerator by the denominator. What's the numerator? Top. Divide the top number by the bottom number. So you just think about that fraction line is just a fancy way to write division. I've said that before, I'll say it again. So we just divide the top by the bottom, meaning the top number is the one that goes inside the box. Okay? Because it's a fraction, we know that that number is less than 1. Right? It's just a part of a number. So we know we're always going to have to add a decimal and some zeros. All right? So we're going to add a decimal and some zeros to work these out. So for example, if I had 3 divided by 4, 3 goes inside my box, 4 goes outside my box. I know that's a 0. Decimals goes in there 7 times. 28. 2 left over. Leaves us with a 5. Now there are some of these that you should have memorized. Should not have to work out the simple ones that you have memorized. Like 1/4 is? If I have a fourth of a dollar, I have a quarter of a dollar. How much money do I have?
25.
25 cents.
Who's running here?
We'll show you some videos. Me only going 15 and hitting it. I thought about, my brother told me I should have just went full on slammed it. My girl going like 50.
Oh.
And if I would have done that, it wouldn't have hurt me. Like, I was smoking it going, the last time I smoked it, I was probably going up to maybe 25. And all I know is it just smushed and like it just dragged the car. It was pretty minty. But we got kind of scared because the fuel line lit on fire. And that damn thing out quicker than hell. Fire truck came over. The whole, everything was on fire. Garden hose didn't work. What I should have done is, I should have opened the sewage and put a pump in there. And I should have pumped the sewage and just shot shit on the shit. Over the shit box. Could have shot shit onto the shit box. That's what we should have done. And how big the hose is and everything to it. So it took me for a second to fire that pump up, but the majority, just like a fire truck, like it shoots that fast, you're gonna have to hold that hose really, really tight.
But in my mind, no.
Well, I've got Friday afternoon covered with Luke.
Okay.
So that was my main thing because I have to drive the activity bus.
Right. We have to put a rooster.
Rick might be back Friday.
Okay.
You know, if Tammy's getting along fine, I'm sure he'll come drive if we need him for his route.
So if I don't get picked, will I cover Rick's route in the afternoons and just keep somebody on mine? Is that your plan?
Well, probably.
Okay.
That way I don't have to run the show.
All it did,
not move the show, just
push my grill guard up just a little bit. You know, I took a chain, took the telephone pole, pulled the grill guard back out. Not pull all the way back out, but I'm gonna go and loosen the bolts and move it back down to where it was. And now I'm gonna tighten the hell out of the bolts again and be just fine. My grill guard can handle it. More cars to ride ahead.
All right. So 1/4 is 0.25. 0.25. 1/2 is 0.5. 3/4 is 0.75. The other ones you should have memorized are the fifths. Okay? 1/5 is 0.2. 2/5 is 0.4. 3/5 is 0.6. 4/5 is 0.8. So if we look at that, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5. Notice how. Notice that pattern. 2, 4, 6. 8. And then 5/5 is 1 whole. Okay? Those are the ones that you should have memorized. Should not be a problem to memorize your quarters and your fifths. Morning. It's really fine. It's really fine. Okay, so when we do this, remember top number divided by bottom number. So, on the back, I believe I have this as our first example. A -3/8 we are going to write as a decimal. How did I just say we do that? Divide the top by the bottom. 3 in the box, 8 outside the box. Always going to be a decimal answer when you have a fraction. That's not very nice. They just give you the answer. Good. Don't be distracted. Do what now? You? Oh. Should be working out some division, sir. Not just staring.
Oh, I guess I'm assuming, but I don't know if I'm correct. It's a negative.
Yes.
Oh, but I have to put that 0.
We really have to put that.
Really have to put that 0.
I never remember that. Is that a new rule?
Nope.
I don't think I learned.
Nope. Not a new rule. Oh, today is Brandon Luna's birthday.
I told him happy birthday this morning.
Oh, look
Would
at
that make him like 19? Does that sound right? 20? He graduated last year.
But I think he was 19 when he graduated.
Okay.
So I end up with 0.375, and it needs to be a negative. Negative 0.375. 5/6 is our next decimal. What? It's gonna go on forever? Stay focused. So 5 inside the box, 6 outside the box.
Still working.
You are correct. You are correct. It goes on forever. You should have repeating 3s when you are done. Absolutely. You're going to put a line on top of it. And notice how they put squiggly line equal marks because it's an approximate.
Bacon.
Put some bacon between those numbers because it's an approximate estimation. It goes on forever.
Okay, so you write it just, that would be how you write the answer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And on their Chromebooks, it gives them the bacon sign.
I have no idea.
Okay.
That's a great question. It does. Okay. It does.
Well, I'm worried you're going to be gone. I'm going to have to know.
It'll be a book assignment.
Okay.
Online assignment will be today. book assignment will be tomorrow.
Okay. And there will never be another, like, say that you do get selected.
Thursday.
Thursday there
Thursday will be in
another,
online.
a new lesson. Okay.
Okay, this one. What do you notice different about this one?
How's that 3 there?
Has a what? Has a whole number in front of it. When we have a whole number in front of it, you do not need to include that in your division. We just need to know that that is going to come before our decimal point when we finish dividing. So we can put 5 inside our box, 16 outside of our box. When we divide, we can put a 0 there, but we know that this 3 is going to replace the 0 in our final answer. I know. It's, yeah. Sorry. Okay, everybody ready for the next one?
Already done with it.
You're already done with it. Because 3/5 is one that I said you should memorize, right? So what is that one? 0.6. They are going to show you another way to work it out here. Okay, other than memorizing. They say that if we take a top number and a bottom number times the same number, we end up with an equivalent fraction. When we are working with numbers that can easily get to 10, 100, 1,000, we can work with those and make it easier instead of dividing to just look at and say 5 times 2 is 10, 3 times 2 is 6, so therefore we have 6/10. Or 0.6, okay? I say this is fifths or ones that you probably need to memorize. 2/10, 4/10, 6/10, 8/10. Super simple ones. So our next example is 3/50. Just add a 0. Or what can we take them both times? 2 is the answer there. Okay, multiply them both by 2. Our bottom is 100. Our top is still 6, so we end up with 0.06. We end up with 6/100 instead of 6/10. If you are uncomfortable using this multiplication method and you do not have them memorized, you can still put them in a box and divide, okay? So now we're going to talk about comparing greater than, less than, equal to. When we compare decimals and fractions, it is easiest to take our fraction and write it as a decimal. Okay, when we do that, we turn our fraction into a decimal, and then we can compare them. Remember, we compare these decimals by looking place by place. 0.1, 0.2. The 2 is greater, so our alligator eats the bigger one. So let's look at our first example here. We have 1/2 and 0.54. 1/2 is the same as what decimal? 0.5. Thank you, Austin, because I thought you just said 5, and I was going to be like, no, Austin. Yes, 0.5. So when we have 0.5 and 0.54, we can add the 0 here if you need to. So when we're looking at place values, 5s are the same. So we move on to the next one, 0 and 4. The 4 is greater, so 0.54 is greater than 0.5. Remember that. I don't think I have any negatives in my examples, but remember that in negatives, it is the opposite. The bigger the place value, the smaller the number. Here's our next one, 0.5 repeating and 5/9. So change 5/9 to a decimal. Five inside the box, 9 outside the box. What do you end up with? It is 0.5 repeating. So 0.5 repeating and 0.5 repeating are my two numbers. What can you tell me about those two numbers? They're equal. Here are some examples of writing numbers from largest or smallest to largest. I did not include any of these on your homework, so you do know we're not going to practice any of these, okay? It's just the same thing, only we're just putting them in order. You would reduce them all there, divide them all down to decimals, and we are going to put them in order. Then we talk about using these numbers in problems. We still have to follow order of operations, which is just PEMDAS. So we follow PEMDAS and work these out step by step. So when we look at this one, immediately your mind says, let's do 100 times 10. But we can't, because PEMDAS says multiplication and division in the same step from left to right. So we're dividing by 100. What did we say last week about dividing by 100? We move it to the left. How many places there are? Zeros, right? So we move our decimal 2 places to the left, and we end up with 8.978. Then we multiply that by 10. So what do we do with our decimal? Move it back to the right. How many places? 1. So our final simplification would be 89.78. Here we have a negative number in front of some parentheses with a subtraction problem inside of it. PEMDAS tells us we have to do what first? Parentheses. So I'm going to subtract these two numbers first. When I subtract decimals, I have to do what? Line up my decimal points. I'm going to line up those decimal points. So then if it's me, I rewrite my problem. 8.69 negative times 1.4, because I have the answer to that. I have a number right in front of a parentheses, so I'm doing what to those two numbers? Multiplying. I have a negative times a positive, so I know my answer is going to be negative. How many places are behind my decimal point in my problem? So I'm going to have 3 places behind my answer as well. Laura, is that what you got as an answer? So negative 12.166. Another example. PEMDAS says we have to do what first? Parentheses. So inside my parentheses, I am adding these two things together. When I add them together, I get 5.3. What's my next step? Exponents. So I have a negative 2.3 squared. What does that mean that I'm doing? By itself. So negative 2.3 times negative 2.3. A negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. My next step is to do what? Multiply 4.1 times 5.3. And finally, that leaves me with a simple addition problem. When I add my decimal points, what's important to remember? Line them up. Line up your decimal points. Did you get the same answer?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, they just keep getting a little more difficult. What do we do first? Remember, just break it down step by step. PEMDAS says we're going to do what first? Exponents. My exponent is with my 1.2. This time, my negative sign is not inside my parentheses. So I leave that minus sign or negative sign there and I leave it alone. Okay? It does not turn into a positive. Excuse me?
Why do they have to make math like this? I don't think I'm ever gonna need this use this mechanic shop.
I think you probably will.
Not that kind of math.
You don't think so?
No, because I know how to get away from this math.
Okay. Well, when you figure my bill, I certainly hope you know how to do math like this.
I'm just gonna eyeball that.
Yeah, okay. When you have to
That'd be
figure
too
tax,
fitting,
when you
man.
have to
No.
add tax onto my repair bill, I
That'd
hope
be
you know
too
how to do
fitting.
math like this.
That's why there's a computer that tells you, and literally you just put the oil in the filter we used,
Okay.
and
I hope the computer doesn't crash.
then I know how to do it still, because there's certain prices on certain things.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to add them up and subtract because I get a discount for my car wash.
No.
Because I get a car wash every time I go get my oil change. So I have to pay for my oil change, but I get a certain percentage discount. Percentages are done in decimals. So yes, Blake, you are going to have to know how to do this.
No, I know how to do things.
Okay.
Get away from that.
Okay. Next step's going to be what? Divide. I'm going to divide by 10, which means I'm moving my decimal which direction? To the left.
I don't run the office. There's other two people that run it.
Finally, I'm going to subtract my top two numbers.
I'm running out of room here.
I know. Sorry. I knew that when I was making these notes on Saturday. I'm like, I don't know how to fit this all on here. That's why there's still two examples on the front page, too. And then our final step is to divide. Remember, when we divide by that decimal, this would go on the outside of our box. So I'm going to have to move that decimal 2 places, so I move that decimal 2 places. Okay, our final examples talk about finding the area of a triangle. In order to find the area of the triangle, we take 1/2 of the base times the height. So our base is along the bottom. Our height is usually denoted with a dotted line. We're going to multiply those two things, and then we're going to find 1/2 of it. When we talk about finding 1/2 of something, they have turned 1/2 into a fraction or into a decimal and multiplied by that. In my opinion, that is more difficult than doing what? How else can we find half? Any ideas?
Make it into a decimal.
If it were me, I would simply take this answer here, which is what, 14.7? And they're saying take 14.7 times 5. I'm saying divide it by 2.
What in the world?
What in the world what?
I take it by 5.
Why are we dividing it by 2?
Because when you divide something by 2, you're cutting it in half.
Oh.
You're finding half of that answer.
Oh, yeah.
So you can either multiply by that decimal of 0.5, or you can divide by 2.
But that only works if it's a half.
That only works if it's a half. Otherwise, you're going to multiply by the decimal. Questions, comments? Okay, that is our lesson for today. I am